Hey, what's going on, everybody? How are you? Hope everybody's doing well, and I hope that this comes through loud and clear. I hope everything's working. I hope all of the technical issues we had last week are resolved. If I have anything to say about it, we did, because I spent a lot of time working on it. The network setup in here is better. Internet has been upgraded insanely. And yeah, Andrew says it sounds great. Cool. All right, awesome. Well, the first thing that I have to acknowledge, because so many of you in the chat were part of this, is episode 500. Episode 500 of Martial Arts Radio dropped yesterday, and it was an amazing video that I was just blessed to be able to kind of curate and bring out, because we had some absolutely amazing martial artists. Some of the biggest guests we've ever had on Martial Arts Radio were part of that video. And if you haven't had a chance to watch it, go to our YouTube channel, check it out. It's absolutely amazing. I keep saying it's amazing. It's just, I think it's really cool. We asked people to answer the question, what would you tell martial artists 100 years from now? And the answers were pretty cool. So go check that out. People are saying things look and sound better than last week. I hope so. I spent a heck of a lot of money. I'm spending a lot more money on internet than I was. So, yeah. Thanks, Comcast. They did something right. They didn't tell me that the upgrade was going through. They told me it would happen. And then I'm sitting at my desk one day and internet just completely dropped out because they pushed the update to my modem. And I'm going to try not to fit it with this microphone the whole time, but it's annoying me because I really want it to be here. But if it's here, then it's blocking the camera. So there's no great way. I'm playing with some ideas. And what else do we have to talk about? I want to shout out Gabe for all of his hard work and all of his patience with me and everything that we got going on with this show. You'll see that we're going to try a bunch of new things today. Things that we wanted to try last week. We didn't get to try last week. Of course, we typically do the show the first Tuesday of the month, 8 p.m. Eastern, here on Facebook. And just didn't work last week. But we're back. We're back. So those of you that tuned in last week and are giving me another shot, thank you. I appreciate your patience. Well, we've got a lot of stuff for you today, so let's get into it. Let's start it off. It's going to require a little bit more work on my part than it used to. You've probably seen this one going around. Fencing is the perfect COVID-19 sport. There's masters gloves. And if you get closer than 6 feet, you stab people. I mean, it's pretty apropos, isn't it? I would like to see fencing make more of a comeback. I think people underestimate the benefits of fencing as a martial art. I'm watching the delay. I'm watching to see how things are going, and things are looking pretty good. There we go. All right, cool. I'm feeling more and more confident as we go along here. I love this one. This is martial arts discussion of training in a nutshell. And it blows me away how many people look for shortcuts, not just in martial arts, but in life. They spend so much time trying to find a shortcut. They'll put in more time finding a shortcut than it would take to just do the thing the normal way or the right way or whatever you want to call it. And many of you may know I am fond of saying martial arts is one of the few things that gives back exactly and only what you put into it. Put a lot of time in, you're going to get a lot back. If you don't, you won't. Maybe you've got some natural talent, but that's only going to carry you so far. What's great about this stuff that Gabe sent over is that one, I didn't really look at it ahead of time, but two, I didn't tell him, this is more important, I didn't tell him what to include. So when we get something like this that I absolutely do myself, it makes me laugh. Because there are times that I'll be sitting in a restaurant or at the grocery store and I'll play, what would I do? What would I do if all of a sudden people just popped out of nowhere with, weapons or I got mugged or, somebody took a hostage, and maybe it's a dark view of the world, but I appreciate the mental exercise of it. I think it's entertaining is the wrong word because that trivializes the situation. I think it's a good exercise. It's something that I appreciate doing as a martial artist. How would I handle an imaginary fight that pops up out of nowhere, given the circumstances? I don't know if it was last live or a couple times ago. We talked about impromptu weapons and what aisle would be the most appropriate or the most beneficial to be in. Oh, pardon me. If you needed a impromptu weapon. I think this is a great example of it. At least this is what I imagine is going on with a lot of online training. People signing in and turning off the cameras and just pretending that they're there training. And of course, this wouldn't work if you're sitting there in front of your instructor in class. Oh, I'm just gonna stare at you. I'm gonna watch you teach. I'm gonna watch everyone else do it. Nah, that doesn't work. Of course, that doesn't work. But this is the difference with online training. A few weeks ago, we hosted a seminar. I put one on from my living room, and there were a few people who didn't have their cameras on. And I wondered what they were doing. I wondered, were they training and maybe they didn't want me to see them? Or were they sitting on the couch eating chips? We'll never know. See, and Gabe's even got these transition slides in here, which are super cool. This is from one of the very first photo shoots that we ever did with whistlekick, which is great. I love it. I'm loving the chat. Stacy says she was in her PJs during the training. Hey, I was pretty much in my PJs running the training. Why not? What's wrong with that? We've got this Martial Arts Fun and Friends Facebook group, and I know a number of you are in it. Maybe most of you are in it, but we launched that because there was far too much negativity going on in a lot of the martial arts groups that I was part of, and I got sick of it. So started this one, and Gabe posted something in there that I really liked. What non-martial arts movie quotes would be hilarious in the context of training? And he gave us some of the best answers. And this first one gives me something to talk about. So I want to show you this one. Of course, from The Princess Bride, you keep using that word. I do not think it means what you think it means. And the reason I wanted to talk about this one is because I just rewatched this over the weekend. Now, I hadn't watched The Princess Bride the first time until I was 25, 26, and I didn't like it because I had heard for a decade that it was this great movie, and I had these really high expectations. And of course, whenever you go into a movie with high expectations, it doesn't pan out, right? It's never as good as you want it to be. So I kind of dismissed it, and I have long considered it the most overrated movie. But I said, it's on TV. Where did I watch it? Netflix? I don't remember. I think it was on Netflix. No, I think it was on Disney. And I said, let me give it another shot. Let me go in with less expectation. Let me try to pretend that I was, 13 and see how it goes. And it was a much more enjoyable movie. And all of the quotes that come up, and just the sheer number of times that the fight scenes, the sword scene, especially with Wesley and Montoya, that one at the top of the cliff, that's so often referenced in martial arts radio as being a great fight scene. Our guests talk about it. We've had probably half a dozen people talk about that as one of, if not their favorite movie fight scene. And so watching it again, yeah, I can appreciate it a lot more. Other quotes that people gave for this. Resistance is futile. Of course, the Borg from Star Trek. I guess I'm going to attempt to do this one with the voice. You're going to learn today. All right, all right, all right. Not my best Kevin Hart impression, but that's from Kevin Hart's stand-up. He's got a treble in his voice when he does that I just can't hit. It's all in the hips. Yeah, it's all in the hips. Of course, from Happy Gilmore. Imagine someone saying that to you while you're sparring or during partner drills or self-defense or grappling. Don't act like you're not impressed. From Anchorman. I've been saved by my pinchers of power. The Goonies. It's a movie I haven't seen in a very long time. And then we have two more from the same TV show. I Have Spoken. And if you don't recognize it from that, you will from this one. This Is the Way from The Mandalorian. Good TV series. Jenny says that The Princess Bride is her favorite movie of all time, and she's even read the book. And yes, it is on Disney+. The fencing scenes in that movie, see, we got good stuff coming in the chat. The fencing scenes were choreographed by the same person that did Errol Flynn's movies, which would explain why it's so highly regarded. Eric says, grappling is akin to violent cuddling. Good stuff. A couple funny stories that came out of the same post. When we practice for tournaments, sometimes I'll introduce myself with, judges, my name is Inigo Montoya. You killed my father. Prepare to die. I've joked about a number of kind of sarcastic cliches that I would love to do at tournaments, and I keep threatening to do them, and I should just go ahead and do them. For example, a very long, drawn-out bow-in process and announcement, followed by 3 moves, and then bowing out. You know, kind of this anticlimactic thing. Jordan says his favorite quote will always be, sweep the leg, and anyone who knows Jordan knows his affinity for Cobra Kai. Not just the new show, but Cobra Kai in the original. Can we call it a trilogy? Can we forget about the 4th one? The irony is I know someone who was in the 4th one. I once took a bunch of kids to their first tournament and purposely went a bit late so they could see all of the other martial artists doing their thing in the whole gymnasium. I stopped when their eyes all wide and darting. Toto, I don't think we're in Kansas anymore. It went right over their heads. One girl said, we don't live in Kansas, Sifu. Epic fail. We got some martial arts in the news. Kickside Martial Arts in Hillsborough, New Jersey set a world record on April 25th for the largest martial arts class. They attempted the record the previous week but failed due to technical difficulties. Hey, it wasn't just us. Here's from their Facebook page. The ISKA report on the numbers from the WLC 2.0 did break the previous world record. The new record is set at 1,925 participants. Can you imagine that? 1,900 participants. Hey, you know what I didn't do? I didn't turn on the lower third. Where'd that go? Here it is. Hey, watch this. I still don't have anything catchy for underneath that. If you all in the chat want to come up with something fun that we can use for that, I would be appreciative. See, and now with the lower third, I've got to adjust the camera, but that probably fills the frame better. So I should have done that in the first place. See, I need a producer. I need someone to stand like right there and say, Jeremy, do this. So I can just be the guy on the camera. Gabe says, that's a lot of bandwidth. Yeah, 1,900 people would be a lot of bandwidth. I suspect the person hosting did not actively see all of those people. I don't think you could do that. And then, do we have a slide for this one? We don't. Of course, the 2020 Olympics have been moved to 2021, including karate. So those of you who have been wanting to hate on karate being in the Olympics, you have to wait. Those of you wanting to hate on the new Taekwondo uniforms, you have to wait. Anybody who wants to be disappointed that they don't get to see judo, wrestling, fencing, boxing, or any of the other combat sports that are in the Olympics, because they'll be preempted for, what do we do in the summer? Gymnastics, crew, and a bunch of other things that are far less cool than martial arts. Yeah, we're going to have to wait to complain about all that. Funny martial arts videos. We got some clips here. Now, here we go. Where's this? Boom, boom. I need like 4 more monitors. There's only so much I can do. Here, where's that loading? There we go. Move that over there. Close those 2 things. All right, hold on. We got audio to deal with here. Where's the audio? There it is. I should turn this on. And then we do this for a full screen. All right. These are edited clips of Ed Parker on The Lucy Show in 1963.
Well, when you yell, it strengthens the body muscles. It also scares the daylights out of your opponent.
Yeah.
Now, I'd like to show you how to defend yourself.
Yes, sir.
Now, Ed is a prowler, and you're in the kitchen. And he sneaks in through the door and grabs you.
Oh. Well.
Now, what would you do?
I don't know. That's what I came to find out.
You ready? All right. Go. Oh, shit.
Good stuff. Good stuff. See, this is kind of the direction that we want to take the show. We want to have more video. We want to have more photos, make it more multimedia. Of course, I'm going to have to get better at switching things back and forth, and we're going to have to play with the best format. But hopefully that works for everyone. Hopefully everyone's digging that. And it looks like everything's still running. So I'm just, I'll be honest. I'm nervous. I'm going to keep checking. Yeah, that's working. Good stuff. That was a good one. And then I think we've got another video clip here that we can load. Let me cue this up. This is one that I bet some of you have seen and involves, let's say, a bit of an homage to a past guest of Martial Arts Radio. What else going on in the chat? Ed Parker was trying hard not to laugh in those clips. That was funny. I need to watch that Lucy episode. Haven't seen that one before. All right. This, you may recognize. Some of you may even be able to recognize just by that little bit that's right there.
Thanks to centuries of experience fighting in the 6 realms, I've learned nearly every martial art from ninjutsu to Krav Maga. And I'm ready to pass that knowledge on to you at Scorpion's Family Fitness Dojo. Learn to protect yourself in one of our many self-defense courses offered at convenient hours throughout the week. Take advantage of our after-school program, where we'll teach your child the basics of self-defense. Not interested in martial arts? No problem! We also offer Zumba classes for high-intensity cardio and fun. All right, everybody, high knees. Excellent form, Sharon. Keep it up. You're doing great.
Thanks, Scorpion.
I need a break. Right! I said raise your knee! So what are you waiting for? Get over here to Scorpion's Family Fitness Dojo. Conveniently located off 11th and Lamar, right next to Sub-Zero's frozen yogurt parlor.
Oh, it's good stuff. Good stuff right there. Of course, Scorpion played by Shihan Chris Casamassa, who we reached out to for 500. I was hoping he was going to send something in. He didn't. We reached out to every single guest that had been on the show. And I'll be honest, some of the people who submitted, I was surprised. Some who didn't, I was also surprised. But I've got a few more clips that came in late, and we'll be doing an addendum. I'm hoping, knock on wood, to get the editing done on that tomorrow. What else we got going on here? We got some discussion topics here. Stuff to do at home. How can practitioners improve their mental training while they're at home? There is a lot of stuff we can do. Now, of course, those of you watching, listening, paying attention in the chat, I would love to hear what you have to say, because that's kind of the fun of doing this show live, is that I get some feedback, get to thank all of you. Oh, shout out to Matt for the Scorpion video suggestion. Now, my thoughts on what we can do to improve mental training while we're at home. Don't underestimate temperature. Cold showers. A lot of us freak out at the idea of cold showers. Well, that's purely mental. In fact, there's all kinds of scientific research showing benefit around cold showers. So if you want to think about health, there's actually some reasons to do it. But if you want more than that, it's going to make you tougher. I went for a walk today. It was 42 degrees. I wore a t-shirt and a light sweatshirt. I was cold, but I wasn't that cold. It wasn't going to hurt me. So I powered through. Got home. I'd completely forgotten about it. What are some of the other ways that we can, I guess, toughen up mentally? You know, one of the other things, and this is going to sound silly, but it's something I've been working on for a few years. I noticed that my reaction whenever I bumped my knee or, banged into something, even if it didn't hurt, I would say, ow. I had no reason to say ow. It didn't actually hurt. So I've stopped saying ow. I've stopped responding in that way. And I've slowly worked it the other way, that there are times I'll bump into something and it really hurts. Maybe I'm bleeding. And I will do my best to not acknowledge it in that way. I'll observe it. I can observe the pain or whatever it is without embracing it and letting it control me. What have you learned about training or teaching online and on your own? Well, I've learned that it can be done a heck of a lot better than I had ever imagined. There are some people out there doing absolutely amazing classes online. It blows me away, some of the stuff that I have seen. I've also learned that there are plenty of people out there, and I'm going to include myself with this, who did not do as well teaching online as they would have thought. I would have thought that what my skill would have, my teaching skill would have translated better online. But I realized I don't do nearly as well if I don't have feedback, immediate feedback. If I can't walk up to someone, if I can't touch them, most of my skill in teaching and instructing something is not verbal. It's observational, it's tactile. And so I've been challenged. And of course, that's an opportunity to get better. We got some comments coming in from my thoughts on responding to pain. Pain don't hurt. I'm allergic to pain. It hurts. We don't say ow in our dojang. We say ayah. Stacy says, I've learned that my condo is not designed for forms work. Can't wait to have a finished back deck. You and me both. I actually talked to the guy who's going to build that just a couple hours ago. And I think training on my own, it's hard. It's hard to motivate. This is probably, I'm not going to say everyone. I'm going to say this is many people's biggest challenge, and I am including myself in that. I have a really hard time with carving out time, picking something to work on, etc. If you give me a curriculum, a program, a video to train with, I'm good to go. And I think that that's where some of the martial arts schools, have done a better job than others, in that they've given people something every day or most days. They've given people lots of options for things to train. And I think that's great. Laura says, I've learned I can tell when my students aren't doing deep enough stances, even when they are only showing the top of their heads on the screen. That's a pretty valuable skill. It's impressive. And with no live sports right now, what fight reruns or highlights have you been watching? Well, I don't watch a lot of live sports. I don't watch a lot of fight stuff. But I will say, I saw a video clip today on Facebook that that empathetically terrified me. Laura says she needs someone to yell at her when she trains. That video clip I'm referencing, some of you may have seen it. Mike Tyson doing pad work. If it wasn't today, it was very recent. This is not old Mike Tyson clips like some have been going around. This is new Mike Tyson stuff. And there is speculation that he'll be getting back in the ring. And even now at, what is he, 45, 50? Is still one of the most terrifying individuals that I could ever imagine fighting in any way, any rule set. He is a monster. And if you want to watch some really scary stuff, go back, watch him when he was 18. Watch how powerful and fast he was. He defies logic. Imagine what he could do if we taught him to kick. I know that the UFC had their first fight the other day. There's a first fight night, no spectators. And I think there's some other, there's been some other stuff. I think there's been a lot of reruns, of course, but pretty sure I didn't even hear of any kind of like bootleg fights going on during quarantine, which I find interesting. We got a birthday boy in the chat. Happy birthday, Fred. Welcome. Andrew says Tyson is 53. Wow. Doesn't change how scary he is. Not even a little bit. What do you think will be the next martial arts challenge to take off? And the most recent one, and I don't know how much it took off, but it definitely got a lot of play, were those really well-edited fight clips. You know, people punching at the camera and then somebody else reacting to that punch and then doing something else and kind of passing that back and forth. Some of those were so creative and a lot of fun. And I really like when something like that, when someone embraces the medium and it becomes creative. Stacy's commenting, yeah, the epic badass woman bitch fight video. That is probably the best one that I've seen and just has some utterly amazing people and really, really impressed with all of that. Not even Ip Man could beat Tyson. Of course, a reference to, what is that, Ip Man 3? The Alternative Weapons Challenge. Oh, do we have that video here? Is that in here? There's a lot of stuff. I don't know if we're going to get through all this, but I'm looking. Gabe, let me know if that's in here. If that's not in here, let's Facebook me the link. And we'll, because I want to run that. That was fun. You guys put some good time into that. Yeah, so we've seen the bottle cap challenge, the picture posting challenge, and stuff like that. And there's a video here of Donnie Yen doing the bottle cap challenge. Let's look at that one. Oh, there it is. I missed it. It's here. Okay. Let's do Donnie Yen, and then let's go back to that, because somehow I missed it in this. Man, that guy's cool. I want to be Donnie Yen. It's too cool. I wonder how many times it took him to do that. The fact that he did it, I don't care if it took you 100 times. That's still impressive. Laura says the next challenge will be some sort of fight over toilet paper and Lysol. Craig says how to encourage students to practice outside of class. That's a challenge that's been long-standing. And Ron says the remote forms tournament challenge. I saw quite a few of those pop up, and from what I can tell, participation was fairly low. I do want to show this because this clip comes from two people who are in the chat right now, two people I consider friends, and I think what they put together was really cool. Now, this I know the backstory on. It is the result of a conversation that we had a couple episodes ago about impromptu weapons. And I did not ask them to do this. I did not suggest that they do this. It just suddenly showed up in my Facebook Messenger feed one day. Shout out to Gabe and Andrew. That came out awesome. And, you know, it's fun. It's certainly a fun video, but I think there's a lot of practical stuff there too, right? The idea that we get better at working with what we have available to us. And I think that there's a wonderful mental exercise. You know, we've talked about this. What do you have handy? I mean, yeah, I've got a knife right here, because this is what I use as a letter opener. It's a retired kitchen knife. But what else is there? You know, what would I do with this Bluetooth speaker? How would I use this as a weapon? How would I use, you know, this charging cable? How would I use any of those things? And one of the things that my original instructors used to say is that you should be able to take any weapon and apply your empty hand principles to it. And you should be able to adapt any form that you know to using that weapon. And it's something that I've played with over the years, and it works, and I would encourage you to try it. And if anybody wants to put together a video like this and send it in, maybe we'll do a montage of some clips or something. Maybe we'll show some of these next time. So go ahead, do that. I want to check it out. I want to see what you do. Craig says a broadsword is equal to a bar stool. I would agree. Andrew's sending out props to Gabe for doing all the editing and making him look good. My favorite part in that is when Andrew's got Andrew's the one with the dustpan and the broom, and he comes around and he sweeps the dirt in the air at the guy's eyes, or at the attacker's eyes. We'll be gender neutral. What else did we get? Yeah. Got a lot of compliments coming in for those two gentlemen for what they did there. Moving over to the next thing. Where would you be if you had never found the martial arts? Or worse yet, what would this world look like if the martial arts were to be outlawed? Well, the first question is pretty easy. I've finally come to accept that there's a very good chance that I would not be here. I'm not going to bring the show down by talking about that. But bottom line, if I had not found martial arts, I don't know that I would have made it through. Now, what would the world look like if martial arts were outlawed? How do I answer this without going political? Because I don't want to, right? We don't do politics on this show. I suspect we would have some things start to blur the lines. I think we would see, you know, if anyone's familiar with capoeira, it's a dance. It's a dance that has martial arts movements. I imagine that we would see some traditional arts kind of go underground and be taught in the way that they were a long time ago, one-on-one. I'll invite a friend over and teach privately in the garage kind of a thing. I think we might also see some arts do what capoeira does and hide it in music. If anyone has ever watched really good taiko drummers, you could easily take the drumsticks out of those drummers' hands and put in blades or just about any martial art weapon, and they could go to town. And you can also see empty hand principles coming through in that as well. Stacy says she agrees martial arts saved her sanity more than once. Jared's suggesting that world without martial arts is a totalitarian government. And I'm reading it, but I'm not responding to it because, well, we're not going political. Laura wouldn't be here listening to the podcast for one. That's a good point. We don't have a whole lot of non-martial artists involved in the show and what we're doing. And that's okay. Jared's follow-up, I also don't think we could ever stop people from fighting. I would agree. There are lots of laws about fighting. People don't follow them. Types of headaches. Migraine, hypertension, stress, and seeing a white belt teaching a wrong move to another white belt. Oh, that is painful. It is incredibly frustrating seeing someone who thinks they know, trying to show someone. And, it's hard because it's coming from a good place. They're trying to help somebody out. They're trying to benefit them, give them some good stuff, but it's not their time. Would love to live in a world where we didn't need the martial arts, though. That is a great point. I would make a slight adjustment to that. I would love to live in a world where we don't need to learn self-defense. Because I equate martial arts to a lot more than that. But I think, what would martial arts look like without self-defense? It would probably be much more like a dance. Comes full circle. The conversation comes full circle. What advice would you give a student who wants to teach? Start teaching. Learn from as many people as possible, teach as many people as possible, and make sure that you are confident in the knowledge of how things work when you start teaching it. You don't have to know how to teach everything, but you have to know how to teach something, and you need to learn how to work from that. I'm a big fan of people learning how to teach very early on. Once you learn how to tie your belt, you can teach other people how to tie their belt. Once you learn the basics of the first form, you can show somebody else. Because let's face it, what's the first thing people need to learn? The pattern. How does the form go? What's the gist of the movements? We're not talking about high-level stuff. But anybody who spent time teaching knows that even going over basic things with someone else reinforces it, makes it so much more valuable, more real to you. It's worse to see a black belt teaching a wrong move to a white belt. Yes, it is. We'll go back to that headache chart. Or Stacy suggests, help at a summer camp. Jared says, only teach what you know. Of course, Jared is the host of Martial Thoughts. And Jared, I don't think I've said anything to you about this yet, but the episode you did unpacking Star Wars and martial arts was utterly phenomenal. If any of you out there are Star Wars nerds, Jared, I don't remember what episode number it was because I don't think of your show that way. I barely think of my show that way because things don't always go in order. But it was awesome and I loved it. And I hope you do more of them. Craig says, improve visualization and engage in writing exercise for strengthening metaphors. Oh, I like that a lot. Taking the skill of teaching beyond the mats or the floor or whatever you want to call it and engaging your mind much more because, yeah, I think you have to. If you could get a black belt in any style, which would it be? Jared says, first I want to earn a Shodan. Sounds like there's a little bit of distaste at the word choice. Get, earn, achieve, undertake, pass. I think there are a lot of verbs there. I don't think the question was intended as to hand over in exchange for money without skill. See, I just complimented her. Now I'm gonna pick on him a little bit. I want to earn a Shodan in the art I'm studying right now. Besides that, I studied words. Words are hard. PCK Salat for about a year, and I'd want to become proficient in that. John Schuttinger's high school buddy says Tiger Style from Wu-Tang. Matt says, I'd love to have one in Capoeira, but I think one in BJJ would make me more rounded. Ooh. Jen says a second in Taekwondo, and she's interested in learning Kung Fu. Rodney would love to add Hapkido or BJJ. Stacy says she's not so, her body doesn't have the moves for Capoeira, but loves it. For me, if I ever added to mine, it would be a kindred art. Stacy's a Taekwondo practitioner. Like Hapkido for the cane work. Jordan says BJJ. Nikolai says, and I always butcher the pronunciation of this, and because I actually looked up how to say it once, and it doesn't sound like it's spelled. But I'm going to pronounce it like it's spelled. Kalaripayattu, which is an Indian martial art. Some claim it's the oldest martial art. It's not necessarily fully practical for the modern American society, but has some history as one of the oldest recorded arts. And we've got a footnote here. It's originally a traditional form of martial art that started in southern India. Kalaripayattu, or Kalari, is the science of war, treatment, and marma therapy, believed by the historians to be one of the oldest existing martial arts in the world. It's all about inner peace and fluid animal movements. Jared says he's gotten some good responses from the Star Wars episode. No doubt. It was great. And it was fun because there was someone who had approached me and wanted to do something like that. And I've been bugging them for an outline for probably 6+ months. And he actually just reached out yesterday and I said, sorry, Martial Thoughts beat us to it. Craig says, I'd take the MMA triad since in real life I don't touch that stuff. Kung Fu for years. And I don't know what you mean by the MMA triad. I'm guessing you mean Muay Thai, BJJ, boxing? I don't know what the other one would be. I don't know. You'll probably comment. We got another video here. That should be good. I haven't reviewed this. Fortunately, I've got Gabe reviewing these, so I don't have to worry that we've got something terrible popping up. Where is it? Come here, you. Loading. You know, if I did this in the future, I could just load up all of these links and, you know, then just switch over. I wouldn't have to do this as we go, but that would have required forethought that I hadn't thought of because this is the first time we're doing this.
Okay, thanks a lot for coming, everybody. Before we start learning any throws, etc., first thing about judo is you just got to make sure that you can fall okay. So I'll just check all your break falls one by one. Let's start with you. Just step forward, that's good. Okay. Yeah. Just one big bow, then the throw. Okay, so 1, 2, 3, then...
That's good stuff. Mr. Bean's pretty ridiculous, but I like it. Jared, don't apologize. I'm just picking on you, my friend. Star Wars. Oh, I didn't realize you had more. I missed the others. Episodes 114 through 118 on Martial Thoughts. Really good stuff. If you are even casually interested in Star Wars, I would encourage you to check that out. And of course, make sure you're checking out Jared's show because he does great stuff. Oh, I'm missing stuff. Over the last few episodes, the topic of rank display has come up on the side. Most martial arts schools display rank with a belt, a sash, or even a patch, but Frank mentioned that Muay Thai uses armbands. What other ways have you seen rank displayed in the martial arts? Primarily, I've seen it as belts. I also have seen some things around colored uniforms, colored trim. For example, the karate school I grew up in, we weren't allowed to wear black uniforms until we were brown belts. And it was supposed to just be black and white forever. I mean, that was all we had. And then there was a sarcastic young man in the school who kept telling his mother that he wanted a blue uniform when he earned his black belt because that was funny to him. And then he earned his black belt and was presented with a blue uniform. And then the wheels fell off and there were red uniforms and only a few of the instructors dared wear anything else color-wise. But in our school, that was a bit of an indication. And yes, if you couldn't tell, I was the person with the blue uniform. I still have it. It's in my closet right there. It's in that closet. I'm not going to show you because I have no idea what else is in that closet right now. Jared says, in Aikido, you get a hakama. To people who are not familiar with what a hakama is, it's basically a big black skirt at your shodan at your first degree. Savat uses colored gloves, Andrew thinks. I have not heard of that, but okay, I could get down with that. Tang Soo Do not only does belts, but there's some colored trim. I did train in a school in college where the patch, I mean, this wasn't the only way we could tell rank, but the patch had some color to it that was supposed to match your belt. And being a college student, I was generally behind on updating my patch because I had to use that. They weren't even adhesive patches. You had to sew them on, and they were supposed to be with matching colored thread. And I was like, I'm a college kid. I don't have time for that. I got other stuff to do. As long as we're allowed to gather at all this summer, are you participating in any martial arts camps this year? What are some of the coolest drills or games you've seen at camp? I have no idea. I spent a few years teaching at a camp in Maine. I've taught at a number of martial arts summer camps, and I really enjoy it. I like that opportunity to engage with martial artists, whether they're kids or adults, just for a longer period of time. I think when you build that rapport, when you have a little bit of a relationship with someone, when you can share a meal with them, you're better able to teach them. You're better able to understand who they are and what they need, and I can be a better instructor. And on the flip side, as a student, I am able to learn better when I understand better how the teacher teaches. I can kind of wrap my mind around how I need to show up, not just physically be there, but how I need to show up for class and how to learn, because learning is a skill. COVID martial arts camp game. Keep away. Yes. How do you lose? Because if you approach someone, then you also lose. I don't know. Maybe that's the point. What's your funniest training injury? I don't think I have any funny ones. I've broken 2 bones. One of my teeth is a crown from a kick that I will never know how it got there. It took some very strange trajectory. And I think the funniest one, not really funny, but oddest, is I broke this finger. I have no idea how. We were sparring in class. I was wearing gear. But it was broken. And if you look, you can see, let's see. You can see that there's a gap between this finger and this finger. See how they don't line up straight? It's because I broke my ring finger on this hand, and hospital decided not to set it right away. They said, no, it'll be fine. We'll set it tomorrow. Well, the plastic surgeon had to re-break my finger because they were wrong. Laura's got one. Doing forearms in slow motion with a cup of hot water balanced on your head. Great for hot summer days. Ooh, I like that a lot. What about doing it on cold winter days? Even more motivation. Other responses to training injuries, Jenny says, well, I've repeatedly given myself black eyes or bloody forehead gashes with my own sang chul bong because no one beats me up but me, mostly. Then there was the time with the 4-on-1 sparring match. I was one of the 4, and Matt was the one. They're married. And let's see. Nope, not going to say anything about that. I was an orange belt at the time and had been sparring for maybe 2 months. During the match, my other 3 team members were holding back and not making much contact with Matt at all. Not me. The big, bad 8th cup that I was, I kept working my way in and trying to get some strikes in. At one point, I cut between 2 of my partners and slid in to land a sidekick. As my leg was coming up, Matt saw me, lifted his size 14 foot, and planted a sidekick of his own right under my left arm, nailing me in the ribcage, and good. Took my breath away. He paused for a moment to make sure I was okay, and we finished the match. Turns out that kick cracked a few ribs. He and I had just started dating, so we tell everyone that was the day he kicked his way into my heart. Very sweet, very cheesy, and the type of thing that only people who train together understand. I'm sure you had some looks, or at least some surprise, as you told people what had happened. Laura cut her knuckle doing line drills and punching. No idea how. We determined I punched a ninja. I could see that. Matt, the other half of this duo, has 2 good ones. So during sparring with my buddy Steve, I accidentally kicked him in the mouth. There was blood all over the floor. We were walking in circles looking for a tooth. His tooth had cut my toe, but I didn't realize it. Second, during an XMA seminar, tricks, flips, etc., shout out to Mike Chat, who was a guest on the show a very long time ago. During the warm-up, we were doing cartwheels. I managed to break my foot long ways, between 2 toes, down to my heel. I had to sit out the whole seminar. The day before, I was training with some of the guys showing off my 720s, both sides, and a few other tricky flips. But I was stopped by a cartwheel. I like that. That's good stuff. Have you had an injury that forced you to change the way you train from that point on? How did you deal with it, not only physically, but also mentally and emotionally? I'll be honest, I haven't had anything like that. And some of you will likely disagree with me, and that's okay. I do not believe that there is an injury I cannot recover from. Maybe someday I'll bump into something, but I have met too many people who have overcome too many things, and I have managed to work through 100%. Here I am now. I'm less than a month away from turning 41. I am stronger. I am healthier. I am more flexible than I have ever been. And I'm going to keep pushing that boundary as long as I can. And at some point, it'll probably not be the case. I'll probably not be able to say someday that I'm the strongest I've ever been. But so far, I'm on track to keep doing that for a few more years. That's my plan. Hey, look at that. We are coming to the end of our time. And I think that this is a good point to end it. Is there anything else that I wanted to get through that we could do in the next couple minutes? Pretty good. We got through most of it. And I'm gonna put it out there because Gabe's been helping me with this. We should have a new segment starting next month. Something that I've been working on for a long time. Some of you know about this. I'm not even going to tell you what any of it is. I'm just going to be that guy who's really vague and a bit of a jerk in doing so. But it's fictional. We should have a fiction segment, something fictionalized for next time. And I'm looking forward to that. I'm looking forward to sharing all of that with you. So we'll see. We'll see how it goes. And we're going to save the rest of this stuff that we've got. We've got some more topics, and thank you, Gabe, for making sure there's more than enough. And we will share that with you next time. Now, if you didn't have enough, excuse me. If you didn't have enough, if you want more of me live, tune in tomorrow morning, 6:30 a.m. Eastern on YouTube for First Cup, where you can join me for my first cup of coffee. Watch me drinking coffee in a bathrobe, going from to a moderately functional human being. And you can respond much in the way that we're doing this and leave questions, comments. It's a different style show, but fun in its own right. I want to thank everybody for tuning in. Thanks for joining us. It'll be 3 weeks, 4 weeks, however many weeks. First Tuesday of June. What day is that? Not my birthday, is it? The 2nd. Okay, good. June 2nd, 8 p.m. right here on Facebook. And make sure you join the Martial Arts Fun and Friends group. Make sure you're part of Whistlekick Martial Arts Radio behind the scenes. Make sure you're getting the newsletter. Go to whistlekick.com, subscribe to that, and check out all the new stuff we've got. And if you've watched or listened this far in, I'm going to let you know, I filmed the videos for the speed training program today. Those are going up hopefully tomorrow, and make sure you're paying attention because we're going to offer a flash sale when we release that. I don't want to toot my horn too much, but it is unlike anything else out there. The strength and conditioning program we did, it's good. It's really good. There are other strength and conditioning programs. The speed training program we're doing, there's nothing else like that. There's nothing else out there that is like this. And I hope it yields some sales. It would be nice for Whistlekick to be profitable. All right, everybody. I want to thank you for tuning in. Thanks for watching. Thank you for commenting to those of you in the chat. Have a great night, and I will see you soon. Take care.